Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to Terrain World. And to this category, which I haven't really done many streams of it. I mean, I've done streams of all sorts of different categories across Downpour, but this category is probably the one that I've spent the most time on, but I've streamed the least. And I've done like a few things here and there, like during the speedrunning events and no creature runs. I do those sometimes, but the reason I'm decided to stream this is one, I had something else planned. I actually wanted to do something else for this stream, but it took way too long to set up. I think I'll do that for next stream. But also, what you're seeing on the screen right here, this is not an official run. I used a mod to remove creatures, which is also a mod that I'll be using now. I'll get into it in a bit. But I did this run with no creatures, and I got a time of 29:02. And that is, what, like 20 or 30 something seconds faster than world record? Which I'm pretty sure is still my world record. Now, you guys just said in the chat that someone else took the record. I don't know if you're misinterpreting the title or if someone actually did beat the record, and I'm not aware. If someone did beat the record, I would like to know about that, because it's hard to search for random speedruns, and if it takes a while for the leaderboards to update. But this run is really interesting because it was kind of like first attempt. I was like, yeah, I'll just try the speedrun, and I got this time, and it felt almost perfect. It felt like a really good run, but also it's only 20 something seconds faster, so there's really not much room to improve at all. But I do want to do a speedrun that kind of shows off some of the new movement, mostly the wall pounces. But I'm starting with the practice runs, so mod, I guess I'll just get started. I also have karma requirements disabled. This does not change the final time because karma caching does not add any time to the timer for some reason. So it just means that I don't have to spend as much time karma caching if I do multiple attempts. And I really like this mod for practice to get rid of creatures, because it means I can focus on movement and make sure I have that. And then when I do actual attempts, it's like, okay, now it's like a little bit of RNG where I might die in the beginning to random creatures that I don't really have any control over. So this first run won't be official, but I kind of want to do this for practice, but also for looking into a new strategy, specifically one jump and underhang. I really want to do that in an actual run, but I'm not 100% comfortable with it. And I don't want to do stuff in a run that I'm not comfortable with, because in underhang, you're actually after pebbles in underhang. So it's quite far into the run where I might die because I just don't know. I'm not like 100% familiar with the movement, so I want to practice that a little bit now, but that's pretty much it. Monkey feel it? What, because there's no creatures? So normally you would karma cache here. I've changed that in the remake settings for convenience, but I won't karma cache for actual runs. That's an unfortunate mistake. You really want to get that turnaround there. That boosts the speed. So there's two things you can do there. You can do a backflip, which is like much easier to do and pretty fast, but you can also do some wall pounces, which are extremely difficult. And I tried the wall pounces there and I messed it up. Thought I had turn storage. I do this. No. Okay. That one feels very inconsistent for me. Maybe there's just not enough space. Still don't understand how quick pole climbing works. Well, you're not going to learn how, because Rivulet can't fast pole climb. And I don't really like explaining it. I feel like it's better to just watch someone do it if they have input display and look at what inputs they're doing. But the most important thing to know is that it's like a very consistent rhythm. So once you learn what inputs to do, just do it over and over again until you have the rhythm down. And at that point, it becomes very easy and consistent. Any speedrun time, yes. But this is not a real run yet. No creatures. That sucks. Can I do a point? Nice. There's a ploink in the world record run, but I don't know if I want to do it for another attempt because it does save time if you do it properly, but if you mess it up, you end up losing a lot of attempts. Okay, that was unoptimal, but whatever. It still worked out. What just happened? You haven't seen a plank before? That was good. Basically, Rivulet has some... Hold up, I need to focus. Rivulet has different swimming mechanics than the other Slugcats, of course, since they're the aquatic one. And there's this weird trick where... Oops. Okay, I need to remember not to do that second wall bounce. When you fall into water with enough speed, you can do a swim boost that is much faster than normal. And this works normally when you're just swimming into the water, but if you just barely touch the surface of the water and do a swim boost, it will give you that extra boost of speed, but if you're still facing upwards, then you will get that massive boost of speed, but you're not slowed down by the water. So it can fling you really far. However, it is very inconsistent. Whoops. Not very good at this yet. Yep. Because you pretty much need to do it like within a specific frame of entering the surface of the water. That might have been a mistake there. So if you're fast enough, you can make it here before it starts raining. You can see in the bottom left, there's still 1 pip left on the timer. And while you're in a gate, that timer will not move at all. So if it doesn't start raining yet, then you can stay, then you're safe in the rain, right? But if it starts raining and there's no pips left on the timer, then the rain continues to build in intensity while you're in the gates. So now that I've left the gate, you see it's like barely raining at all. But if it started raining, then it would have become very intense by the time I made it out of the gates. It's kind of irrelevant here though, because the shelter's like right there. So even if it's raining a lot, you're not going to die to it. But that used to be important. Okay, so right here, there's normally a grapple worm. Because that creature's disabled, I just spawn one in like this. Oops, sorry about that. Sorry for the mouse on screen. I'll move that in a bit. I haven't really experimented much with that extended slide. Because you can do one with the grapple worm. And maybe you could like kind of keep that momentum going. I haven't really experimented with that much. Or that. But that felt pretty consistent. I might do that in the actual run. Some DLLs here are kind of considered part of the environments, so the mod doesn't work with them. Apparently there's another mod that you can use to get rid of creatures that works better than this one. Should I slide under that? I think an extended slide there is not worth it at all. So this is a weird thing I'm doing here. I'm bringing this fruit over here, or mold, slime mold. I can eat it with this blue fruit. I actually don't know if this is any faster. So if I just ate the food immediately, then I would have hands open to do extended slides and throw boosts and stuff. So maybe that's worth it over... Like, now that I'm in the gate, I can eat this food without any time lost at all. Oops. Talking about Game Awards? That happened recently? Or some sort of event? So I would have no idea. I have to do something right here since the gravity is off. Although that is kind of fun to do. You don't have to do that. You can just actually it does save a lot of time, but I think you can climb the rope, but that's quite slow. Or just wait for the gravity to switch again. But what I did there is I turned around right next to the pole and grabbed onto it, which gives you turn storage, and I use that to do a backflip when you jump off the top of the pole. Unless you can get unlucky here and the tentacles will be down there trying to grab you. That was close. Almost got grabbed. But this cycle is actually really good. Like gravity changes exactly when I want it to. Please go in. I might have to add something to the screen that says, like, this is not a real attempt. That was lucky. I just managed to barely get the jump in time. Can I get through here, though? That's a bit stressful in low gravity, because you can just float up into the slug zappers. Gonna wait here. I have to wait for gravity to switch anyways, so it's fine if I'm a bit slow. How's the run? This is a practice run right now. I have a mod that disables creatures, so this is not an official attempt. I'm just doing this for practice, although it is going actually very well. This is why I wanted to do this run again, because I did a practice run earlier that went really well, so I kind of felt motivated. Downside of doing a speedrun like this is that you pretty much always have to be paying attention to the game. So I can't read chat as much as I would like to. every room is like so fast. You have to immediately react to what you have to do, and the transitions between rooms are quite short, so there's not much time to take a break there either. You don't want that to happen. Do a backflip. So I had enough time to make it up that jump. Okay, I have a little bit of time now. Oh, okay. Eco-friendly Xbox, aka growing mold. Okay. Oh. Sometimes I read the chat and I have no idea how to how to respond. Yep, you guys sure are talking about stuff. As for that game awards event or whatever, let me look that up. Any sort of event like that, it's like pretty uninteresting. And even the like indie games, like half of them are like farming simulators anyway. Ooh, that was close. I wasn't looking there. If you're not fast enough, you might need to eat those slime mold there so that you can take a shelter, because you can actually make it all the way to submerged superstructure from here if you are very fast. Whoops. I think a pounce there is the fastest thing to do. Although I'm not 100% sure. So you can do a slide pounce, you can do a regular jump. But it probably doesn't matter because you'll like lose or gain like a second each time. Which mods make ascending crash? Well, I have no idea. I know that sometimes when I play modded characters, game crashes because they don't have an ending. But if you're not playing modded characters and it's just happening normally, then I have no idea. It's like a ton of different things could contribute to that. Unless you have like 20 mods installed. That would make more sense. How much Ryzen underhang? Have you played Rivulet? I get you know you don't need to go to underhang ever. You can just go to the wall route every time. I almost pressed down there. Did that wrong. It's actually quite difficult to enter the tunnels in the right way. Okay. I still suck at this room. It's really hard to line up with this hole. You're falling so fast at that point. I can't really find a better way to do that room. Always go through the wall or you will suffer. 2 times on unfortunate developments. Well, that area, I've had very mixed experiences with an unfortunate development. Sometimes I get through the area like first try and it's like, well, this area isn't that bad. But sometimes you die like 20 times because of RNG or because of like random tentacles. There's 2 problems that I have with unfortunate development. And that's random DLL positions and the tentacles on the walls. And like the first main few rooms, where it's like the tall vertical room with all the poles along, you know, where you have to wait for the gravity to lower and then you can jump up. There's DLOs in that room, and they're usually kind of off to the side, like on the walls. They don't really move much, but sometimes there's a random chance that they will just be in the middle of the room, or that they will have their tentacles spread out all the way across the room. And since you travel across that room by going into, or by waiting for the low gravity, you're just floating and you can't change your trajectory, and you just float into a DLL that you just can't do anything about. Might die here. We're good. I didn't do that very fast. So sometimes it's just DLLs or their tentacles are in the wrong position and you just die to them because they're off screen and you can't react. It sucks when that happens. The other problem is in the later rooms of unfortunate development near the top. I'm also assuming that you're going from bottom up. But the rooms in like the memory conflicts, is that what they're called? Ow. Those rooms are really annoying because there's these like tentacles on the walls. Well, there's those on the walls of all unfortunate developments. But it's mostly a problem in those upper rooms because you can stay far away from the walls in earlier rooms. Whoops, that's not a big deal. But in the upper rooms, you have to stay quite close to the walls for some of the jumps, and you need to jump off of the just the way that some of the jumps work out, you end up having to get quite close to the walls, and the tentacles on the walls can be in kind of random positions. So if there's one tentacle that's just hanging out, okay, come on, that's just like sticking out too far, it'll just grab you and you'll just die instantly. Sometimes it's quite hard to just deal with those and jump consistently, especially in zero gravity, or if you're jumping between the ropes, which kind of like sway around randomly. So the position that you're on the ropes, but the position of the ropes is random. The like trajectory that you jump off of the ropes is like fairly random. At least it feels random when I play. And then the tentacles on the walls are also in random positions, so it's all just kind of a mess. And any mistake, whoops. Any mistake at all is pretty much instant death, which means that you have to go all the way through the start of unfortunate developments again. But since it's RNG, if you're lucky and you play it safe, then you might just get through the area on your first try, you know, and you're like, oh, what's the big deal? This wasn't that bad. It's not like a platforming challenge where, depending on your skill, you may beat it really easily, or it might take you a very long time. I'm still not very good at this room, I feel like. I just kind of wing it every time. So here's the thing I was talking about. That boost that I got underwater, that's the same thing that gives you a ploink. Because I fell into the water from pretty high up, which gave me a huge boost of speed when I did a swim boost. More than normal. I think you can activate the refaction cell here, but I kind of feel like it slows me down. Especially out of the water. Also, these jetfish are the most powerful creatures in the game. Same with that swim boost right there. There's also not compete. This is the one thing that I might die to on this run. That was actually very close. Usually the aquabeat isn't that far down. This jetfish in here could be annoying. They moved out of the way. Can I do this? That could have worked out. I think I messed it up. You know, I think for the Spearmaster speedrun, going through unfortunate developments would be the fastest option. But I just I haven't even looked into it at all. The Spearmaster should have the least rot, right? But I kind of fear that if like a single room is bad, then a lot of runs would end there. Especially since it takes so many attempts to get past the wall. Whoops, that sucks. Not a big fan of this room. It's that big fall there. But also, doesn't Spearmaster have like functioning gravity generators? Like it's always low gravity. Also, I'd messed up there. That might make some of the movement actually more difficult. So you're floating around the whole time. I don't know. If I do that speedrun again, I'll have to look into that area. Two game journalists, even game. Spearmaster is the easiest character to do GOG with. I actually disagree. Because the Artificer can use their double jumps in 0G, and you can move around very quickly. And very precisely, since the jumps are 100% consistent. That didn't work out. That's my consistent strategy then. There we go. Just make sure that you don't get stung by the jellyfish in this room. But Artificer rarely has a reason to go through 0G areas, so like Spearmaster is also decent. Saint also has control in 0G, but once again, that's not really important. Or useful in their campaign. Except for in the very end. But I won't elaborate on that. I don't like this room either. Kind of weird movement there. Yeah, if you're holding down and you press the grab button, you will drop the item you're holding. Whoops, I'm getting distracted. So if you're trying to do a double jump downwards, you will just drop the items you're holding. Which doesn't really make sense because you're in 0G, there isn't really a down. But like whatever. I think this is going to be a bit slower than my previous practice run. Just how this area, based on how this area kind of feels. Gourmand is good for changing directions, but after that point, I feel like Gourmand shouldn't be able to get tired in 0G because it takes like no effort to move around. But I guess it doesn't really make that much of a difference if you're tired. Game crashed. I'm very worried about that happening in a real run. It's not a big deal with the remix settings that I have enabled for this practice run. But if you're doing a real attempt and if the game crashes here, the run is over. And you lose like a minute. Which I guess is not that big of a deal, but for a world record, a minute is a huge amount. I kind of worried that they're never going to fix that crash. Because, like, who exited out of the game during this cutscene? You know? Is there a reason to exit out? So why would they patch a bug that only happens if you do that? But it makes such a big difference for speedruns. I really wish they did. But they haven't, I don't think they've updated the game at all in the past, like, 4 months. Or something like that. I guess they've been focusing on the port, which is also very buggy. So they're probably more focused on fixing those bugs now anyway. I should have just done one of those. Not a problem. Yes, a problem. Yeah, nice one. I like try to do an EI hop halfway through that slide. Yeah, this is gonna be a lot slower actually. Yeah, there are bugs in this game. Iron Shaded Citadel. Are spiders bugs? That was fun. Fun movement. This is actually slower than the world record. Yeah. I don't know how much slower. Which are bugs. I don't even know if bug is like even an actual term. But it's just kind of a word that we use for the weird things. 29:26 is my current record, which may still be world record if no one else has completed a run since then. So this is 11 seconds slower than that. Is it? Yes. So even with creatures disabled, but there were like a decent amount of mistakes here and there. So I guess we're just gonna move on to the real attempt. I fear that I'm gonna get a world record by like 2 seconds. Oh, I hate that. You gotta change the remix setting first and then the mods. So this one's the main one. Okay, I'll have to restart the game after this. 2 seconds is still good. I find it funny that other games with big speedrunning communities, 2 seconds is like a big deal. At some point in the game's life. Like it might take years for someone to get the time down by 2 seconds, and it's a huge deal. Like, wow, they saved 2 seconds off to this perfect run. But that's such a rare thing in Rain World. Even for like Survivor any percent, like there's a decent amount of time saved left in that category. And the jumps between like first, second, and third place, you know, those are pretty big jumps, not just by a few seconds. One day Rain World will be optimized. I don't think so. Maybe in the super short categories, like any percent. The resolution's weird. Well, you know, other games also have RNG that have been like optimized well. Speedruns. Maybe it's just because there's just not enough people in this community. Like if there were like 10 times as many runners, maybe like suddenly it'd be a big. I mean, I still have this idea for an event where one specific category is picked and then everyone can like submit runs to that category. Like that becomes the focus for like a week or a month or sometime like that. And we just try to see how optimized can this one category get. Because right now, speedruns are very spread out. Some people, like only a handful of people play like Rivulet or Saint or Artificer. And there's like, oh yeah, here's the one like Hunter runner and here's the one Rivulet runner. But then again, if we did an event like that, the one person who already runs that category or character would probably do the best. What is the purpose of strawberry lizards? What do you mean? What is the purpose? I'm a fan of strawberry lizards. They're pretty cool. They're one of the more unique creatures added to Downpour. I mean, they are just another lizard variant. But at least they have unique behavior. I guess like caramel lizards too. But I feel like those ones are more common. Yeah, I really like the options that they have to skip the reindeer. The yeeks, the like little underwater path. I pretty much never never actually used the reindeer. I haven't in a long time. It'd be cool if you could take the underwater path as any slug cat, but it was just like a difficult swim, kind of like drainage system. Or maybe that one area in Pipe Yard. Or yeeks, like maybe there was like one room with like a handful of yeeks that was like hidden in the corner of farmerays. Even if it took a while to get them, it would still save time by getting them over the reindeer. Oh, creatures. This is gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait to die to scavengers. I kind of wonder, this is something I've been thinking about recently. I'm imagining, what if they're in like an alternate reality? Alternate dimension? Universe? There's a ton of different terms. A world where Rain World doesn't have hostile creatures slash predators. Or maybe it still would, but they wouldn't hurt the slug cat, or you would play as a character that isn't hunted. So I feel like there's, you know, we're kind of attached to Rain World as it is now, of course. So any change is like, oh, why would you change that? It works so well, right? The creatures are so important to the game, right? And the feeling of being a prey animal in this hostile environment is like one of the biggest parts of the game, you know? Rain world with no rain and no world. So just But this hypothetical game where there's no like threat, no danger of dying to stuff, you're just kind of an observer. I feel like it'd still be an interesting game. Because it's still a huge world that you get to just go out and explore. And I was kind of thinking about this earlier, like, what if there was a game that was just open world and you could just do whatever you want, you know? Because, you know, there are open world games, but usually they have, like, specific objectives or, like, people to talk to. And you talk to the people and they're like, oh, you should go to this town and blah, blah, blah. Or it's, like, some sort of overarching goal, like, you should go to the castle to do this, you know? And I remembered, like, oh, that's just Rain World. I'm just thinking of Rain World. You can just go wherever you want. It just doesn't really feel that way because it's 2D, so you can't see that far. So you're exploring, but you don't exactly know where you can explore because you can only see, like, the room that you're in and what rooms are adjacent. No scavengers. Please don't. But also, that exploration is kind of limited. Or kind of... creatures get in the way of that. You can't just explore wherever you want because you're spending half your time dying to random creatures and trying to avoid them. And that's a big part of the game. That, like, getting used to being a slow cat and trying to avoid predators. It's like it's an important part. But, like, would it be better if you could just focus on the exploration? Things like the iterators structure, like going into pebbles for the first time or getting to the top of the wall, going to the depths or meeting an echo, stuff like that, I feel like is like a worthwhile reward inherently. Because Rain World is kind of unassuming at the beginning. In Outskirts or in Industrial, it's like, oh, this is what the game looks like, you know, you set your expectations. But then those expectations are broken by these by like the crazy things that you find later in the game if you explore. Oh, come on, please. No, I didn't line that up anyway. It would also be nice for speedruns, the same, you know. Okay, yeah, we're just not gonna do that. I'm remembering how awful this place is with creatures. Okay, I suck at this. I feel like I've already lost all the time that I have to save. I'm gonna be thinking about that now. Like, oh, if I make a mistake, then I'll be behind. I'll be behind pace, you know. You know, I guess that works. Didn't mean to do that. I don't know if I want to finish a run and then save like 2 seconds. Or be behind by 2 seconds. Like when I'd just rather restart from the beginning. If I know that it's going to be bad later. I've never seen so many center wings in one place. Goodness. Oh, sorry about that. But also, you know, there's opportunities to fix the mistakes that I made in previous runs. That might just kind of balance out. That's sweet. Another thing about this game is that its movement is very fluid and dynamic. Because of the way that it's like physics, it's a physics simulation, there's no like perfect way to move. Well, there is probably. If you tested out like every possible like movement tech, like perfected timing every single time, then there probably is some fastest way to move. But you pretty much have to be frame perfect to pull that off. If you always did a perfect AI hop, the moment you like touch the ground, and you always picked up a rock too. But like in other games, maybe the fastest way to move is just by holding in one direction and maybe like spamming the dash button or something like that. That's kind of not how it is in Rain World, so it's like kind of hard to tell if it's even possible to get perfect movement. You know? But yeah, the movement in this game is janky. I agree with that. Just like until you get used to it, really. In most other games, you can just think of your character as a box. And when you hold right, you go right. When you hold left, you go left. When you jump, you know. Which, like, I guess that's how Rain World works too, right? But the like your body can be in different positions, and whether you're touching the ground or not depends on, or if you're crouching or not, or if you're like upside down, which can happen. That's kind of the jank of it. Some people don't even learn that there is like a crouching state, and so they're like accidentally crouched, and that's just how they assume that movement works. So they kind of like bunny hop everywhere on the ground, and that's when they're like, oh, the movement is weird in this game. But they don't know that you just have to stand up. But also, it's very easy to accidentally enter the crouch state. Like whenever you leave a pipe. I kind of wonder, what if let's say that you have a game with the exact same movement mechanics as Rain World, right? I learned that from Iced. One of his streams recently. Just ran past the DLO. Oh, I guess I'll try that too, and it worked out, so. But like, yeah, if you have a game that is has the same movement mechanics as Rain World, like rolling and slides, and maybe like throw boost and extended slides too, shoot spicy. All of that minus the physics simulation. Would it be a better movement system? Like, does the game need to have this physics simulation thing where you can do this? Is this an important part to the game movement? Or could you have it just a regular character that's just a box that you move around, but you can have an upright state and a crouching state and a slide and a roll? I feel like all these things you could do without the procedural animation. I do think that the procedural animation is very important for creatures, though. I really like the realism. That's the way that some creatures kind of like flop around. If you have like perfect timing, you can make that jump in normal gravity, but I can't do it. But you know, when I've like played some platformers recently. I was playing Celeste a bunch a while back. I was playing The End Is Nigh. And I guess Terraria too, but that doesn't really count as a platformer, although it does have platforming movement. But Celeste and The End Is Nigh. I'll focus on those two. They have like... Whoa. Oh, shoot. That almost was perfect. those are games that people say have good movement. I agree. Yeah, their movement is good. It's like responsive, clean. But sometimes I feel like maybe having like simple and like effective movement like that isn't as engaging. Means that you pretty much have to focus all the time on just how you're moving around. Might be able to make this cycle. I have to be very quick about it though. I think that objectively, Celeste has a better movement. If you had a room of 100 people and you let them all play Celeste and Rain World, more of them would say that they prefer Celeste's movement system. And maybe still, if you let those people play the game for a long time and like told them the movement tech, and if they like wanted to try speedrunning, they probably still prefer Celeste. But Rain World has this unique feel, and maybe that unique feel is the procedural animation. Yeah, this route, it used to see pebbles. You would go up the wall and then see them from the top. Go down, grab the refraction cell, and then it would stay the same way that this route does. But it's faster to go from the bottom. But what's funny is that when we went up to pebbles, he talks to you a whole bunch. And dialogue is slow, so you would throw a rock at him. Or a spear, and you throw it at him twice, and he would skip the dialogue. So it was an actual strategy to go up and throw stuff at pebbles. You don't really need wings if you have game knowledge. Are you one of the people who also doesn't play with a cobalt shield? I was hearing this, like, I think it's a tier list of like Terraria items, and they're talking about the shield items, so cobalt shield, obsidian shield, long shield. Basically said that these items actually aren't that great because if you're good at the game, you won't get hits, and if you don't get hit, you don't take knockbacks, so just get good. They didn't say it exactly like that. Okay, goodbye refraction cell. How did I throw it that fast? I mean, I guess if you just use a mount, right? If you just use like the mount from the Queen Slime or the UFO, then you don't need any movement accessories at all, but I always feel weird about doing that. I just get so used to using wings and dash. But also, like, dash plus wings plus boots, that's like 3 accessory slots just for movement. Although this... I think I could have saved that, but I just kind of gave up. Terraria's movement really bothers me sometimes, though. Especially in mods. This is a topic for when I'm playing Terraria. But I really hate when platforming games have like bullet hell style boss fights. Because your horizontal and vertical movement are not the same. In Terraria, your horizontal acceleration is actually quite low. It takes a long time to get moving from one side to the other. Or you can dash, which is instantaneous acceleration. So you have two options. Either you accelerate very slowly, or you accelerate immediately. There's no in between. And it's also it's also possible to accidentally dash when you don't want to. So you very suddenly move in the direction that you don't want to move. So besides dodging horizontally, it's kind of difficult because of that. And then vertically, before you get wings, you're limited to staying close to the ground. So I think most like pre-hard mode bosses actually deal with this very well, where you don't need crazy vertical mobility to like defeat bosses. But once you get access to wings, and that becomes more of like the way that bosses are designed. I'm pretty sure that most late game bosses are designed with wings in mind. Yeah, Terraria is mostly not a bullet hell, but I'd say like Moonlord definitely counts. The problem is that with wings, you have limited flight time. So you have like, you can move up and down as much as you want until you run out of flight time, and then you can only move down. Which means if you're dodging something midair and you run out of flight time, you no longer have the ability to dodge, and that might lead to situations where you have to take damage. And I suppose like, yeah, you need to now keep track of your wing time. Like you can't, like that's a skill issue. you should keep track of how long you can fly and when you need to like touch the ground again. But sometimes you need to, it kind of feels like you're forced to fly a lot, depending on the like attack patterns. But that's definitely more of a complaint with Calamity. I just don't really like it, you know. Your horizontal acceleration is very slow, while your vertical acceleration is pretty good until you run out of flight time. And with horizontal acceleration, it's either very slow or very fast, and there's no in between. And I feel like with bullet hell games, and yes, Terraria isn't bullet hell, but some fights are, and some mods definitely are. I prefer when your movement is exactly the same in all directions, when you have complete control over your position at all times. And when the game puts you in a position where you're expected to dodge a boss with a lot of projectiles, and you don't have precise control over your movement, I think it's just really annoying. I stole the pearl back from him. And I think like late game Calamity is really bad at this. Some late game Calamity bosses are actually awful because they expect you to have extreme precision with your dodging when you just don't have that option. Until you get the chair from Draydon, and then it just becomes a bullet hell game. At that point, like, I don't really like it. I know that fixes the problem, right? You can now have like that precise dodging of a bullet hell. But that's not what Terraria is. Terraria is a platformer, so I'd rather games stick to platformer movement and design bosses around that instead of designing the bosses as bullet hell and then changing movements to fit that better. Like Supreme Calamitous and the Exomechs. I'm not a fan of those fights. With the Exomechs in particular, I have no idea how you're supposed to dodge those attacks. Or how you're supposed to see anything at all, because it's just chaos. And with Supreme Calamitous, you're not even playing Trey anymore, you're just playing a bullet hell. I should stop talking about this. I'll elaborate on this when I'm playing Terraria or Calamity, if I decide to play Calamity. Unless you guys want to hear more about Calamity. I mean, I don't know if there's anything interesting about the game or Rain World right now. I sure am dying in the very beginning of the run. I think that like Yaron is it? Yeah, that's a dragon, right? Yaron is like half really good and half awful. Because I think that some of their attacks really lean into what's good about Terraria's movement at that stage of the game, with the like flying and with the dashes. When Yaron is doing like the charge attacks that are like extremely fast, probably like the fastest charging attacks in the game, especially with how big his hitbox is. Like they're hard to dodge, but also that's kind of fun because your movement is also so fast that it kind of cancels out and it's like balanced, you know. Like you need to be, you need to react very quickly and know how to move out of the way. I think that part of the fight is fine. When he starts doing those like fireball attacks where the entire screen is covered in fireballs that you're expected to weave between while he's still charging at you, I have no idea how you're supposed to dodge those attacks. here's like 1,000 fireball projectiles that you have to dodge. By the way, also dodge Yaron's regular charging attack, which are already difficult to dodge when there's no fireballs around. Wow, good catch. And same with Doggo, the Devourer. I feel like they could be a similar feeling of like a similar fight if they focus more on the movement of like trying to avoid this very fast worm that will almost insta kill you if the head touches you, right? And just like the speed of the fight and trying to dodge something that's like so fast and chasing after you that's so dangerous. I think that part of the fight is like sounds fun. It sounds fun until he starts shooting lasers at you, and I think the lasers make the fight like so much worse because you need to switch between moving very quickly to dodging all of these like projectiles, and sometimes you don't have time to change, especially with the laser walls or like that grid of lasers that you have to dodge. That's a pretty easy attack to dodge if you're ready for it. Are you going to be ready for it? Because there's not much of a telegraph. And if you're midair and you run out of flight time, then you can't dodge it. It's just impossible. At least not consistently. And against such a fast-paced fight, I feel like you're maybe expected to be like flying around a lot and trying to dodge, you know? Oh, I should have saved that spear. Excuse me. That was good. This is not good. Yeah, that like the teleporting, like that could be actually fun. Like kind of like dodge this very fast worm that is teleporting all around you. Like that could really lean into like the dashing and the flying, that kind of movement. Instead it's just like laser spam. If you have a projectile in a game that is very fast and very plentiful, if this enemy is going to be spamming this projectile a lot, then either you need to have very nice controls, like in a bullet hell game where you are expected to be able to dodge it, or this attack does very little damage, which means it doesn't matter too much if you get hit by it. It's just like chip damage, you know? And some Calamity bosses do not follow that rule, and the very fast spammable projectile deals like 1/5 of your health. Unless you dedicate your entire builds to being tanky. There are attacks that do deal like appropriate amounts of damage. Like Euron's charges or the Devourer's head. Like if those deal like half of your health or more, I think that's fair. This is a very obvious telegraphed attack that's like the main threat of the fights that you're trying to avoid. But like the thousands of lasers or fireballs, like those should not deal that much damage. And if you want, you can increase the difficulty like 10 times to increase the damage even further. Oh yeah, I want to play like master mode or the worthy like death mode or whatever there is nowadays. Made a mod to make Calamity harder. Oh wait, Inferno? I don't know much about Inferno, but from what I've seen, it looks like a different game, which means I'm not interested in it at all. I think I prefer mods that stick to the original vibe of the game, and I'm very much used to vanilla Terraria. I have like 2,000 hours in vanilla Terraria. But Calamity wants to be a different game, especially Inferno. Everything is resprited, everything has new music, everything has new AI. You're not even playing Terraria anymore. At that point, why even make a mod? Just make your own game. That's what I'm thinking. Like Thorium, the Thorium mod sounds like more of what I'd be interested in. I think I want to stream Thorium before I play Calamity. Thorium feels a lot more like extra, like vanilla Terraria, but more. Whereas Calamity wants to be its own game. Not doing Mad Legendary Eternity Inferno. Yeah, really. Anyway, maybe I should focus on this rain game. No pearl. Thank you for not killing me. I like when there's a rock there that I pick up instead of a fruit. Also, another thing that these mods like to do is add a bunch of projectiles and stuff to the early game bosses. And I said that I actually like the early game vanilla Terraria bosses because they know that your movement is limited, and so they balance these bosses accordingly, where they have pretty simple attacks that are easy to dodge. But some of these mods are like, yeah, let's give this boss like a bunch of lasers and projectiles. That's something that's like reasonable to dodge with like a double jump. Please. Oh, come on. That was so close. Telegraph projectiles. You know that Doggo also has telegraph projectiles. For every laser that he shoots, there's a line that shows the trajectory of the laser. But there's so many lines that you can't even tell. Or the lines don't show up for long enough for you to position yourself in time. But this guy has no problem. Thank you. Okay, this is a better start. Okay. There's a wild ponce you could do in this room, but I don't even know if it saves any time. Somehow I missed both of the things that I threw at that lizard. And I missed up that rock, or I missed, whatever. Looking up at the timer, like, oh, there goes like 10 seconds. If I do that kind of thing twice more, then I can't get world record. I should stop saying world record. Like, who cares really? Personal best. This feels a lot slower. I don't even have splits, so I can't really compare. 20 trillion scions. That's close enough. I didn't pick up any of the rocks on the floor there. Wow. Oh, there are 3? Well, I mean, 3, like 20 trillion, that's like close enough, you know. Party going on. What do you miss? I died a few times. That's pretty much it. This is the very start of the run. talking about Terraria, Calamity. I think I'm gonna stream Terraria either next stream or the stream after that, depending on when I plan the other Rain World stream that I'm doing. Yeah, I will get around to modded eventually. I need to finish vanilla first, of course. And thanks for watching. I might have to focus more on the game now, instead of making a few more movement mistakes. Expert and Master yet? I've played both of those. Expert mode is kind of my default difficulty, and I did one Master mode playthrough that I did not enjoy. Legendary? No. Is that with the seed? I've not really touched the seeds at all. The custom, like, world generation. I don't know, they just haven't really interested me at all. Hold on, please. Especially the ones that just increase the difficulty even further, usually in kind of annoying ways. Thing with Terraria and difficulty is that you kind of determine the difficulty depending on how much you prepare, specifically for boss fights. If you want, you can like challenge each boss the moment you have access to them, right? And maybe if you're on like a fairly easy difficulty and you're like really good at the game, you can do that. But as you increase the difficulty, you go to Expert, Master Mode, and those extra seeds. I feel like you just have to spend a lot more time preparing for the boss fight in every single way you can. Like preparing like the perfect arena, specifically designed for each boss. All like the arena buffs, like heart lanterns and campfire, like, heart statues too. Like you need to like farm and fish for potions, and like reforged accessories, like all that stuff. And then even if you still die to the boss, now you have to also spend time farming the boss summon item. I like Expert mode. I think it's a fair balance of... It's difficult enough where that you can't steamroll every boss you come across, and you can't beat them immediately. Like, you have to go out of your way to prepare. But once you do prepare, there's a decent chance that you'll beat the boss. Okay, I messed that whole area up. Oh, and Journey. I've never played Journey mode. I suppose, like, yeah, if you could just, like, duplicate, like, the summoning items or potions or whatever. If that's what you do, I guess. I don't know if that's, like, considered cheating. I'm not really a fan of how the difficulties just kind of increase the damage that you take. I think that Terraria has a slight problem with unavoidable attacks. or like projectile spam. But usually it's not that big of a deal. Like, oh, just like get better defense, right? And if you have enough defense, then the like spammy projectiles don't do that much damage. You can kind of just ignore them. But once you get to like master mode and above, you can stop. You're no longer able to ignore those projectiles, and you have to like start dodging perfectly. Maybe I'm bad at the game. And this is all a skill issue. Sucks. I just realized. I didn't realize. Never mind. I think that like boss summoning items is the main problem. If a boss is difficult, eventually with enough attempts you can learn the attack patterns, you can learn how to dodge stuff better. You can always like beat it eventually. But if you need to like go out of your way to grind materials to create the summoning item for that boss, then it just no longer becomes fun. Or if you have to wait for like nighttime, or for like the Plantera bulb, like, stuff like that. Ow. It just becomes annoying. Okay, good grapple worm. I'm not really the kind of player to like build like mob farm arenas. For a lot of people, I think that's maybe how they start their hard mode. Like, time to build an arena for grinding enemies, so I can get a bunch of souls and the mimics and whatever. Let's not do that. I don't like spending that much time on that. Yeah, you really can't just run past them. That's really good to know. As long as you don't run into the main body and you're moving fast enough the whole time, it's really not dangerous at all. With a sample size of 2 encounters, you may not have a similar experience. Okay, that was better. Back? Welcome back. I didn't even know that you left. I cannot make this jump without low gravity. Have I gotten here in a run before? Oh, I did. I think I died after getting the rare packs and stuff. Nice. Lots of stuff going on up there. Whoa. Hello, welcome to the stream. We're on Twitch. I don't know when you got there. That message could have been there for 10 minutes, I wouldn't have known. Mistake. This is a bad cycle. Yeah, now I have to wait for this. If only there's a way to consistently enter this room in low gravity. You have to wait for the cycle to switch. I don't really like activating it early. It means it's harder to enter the pipe. I know that you would activate it early and enter as soon as possible. Maybe delaying it isn't that bad though. Here's why I delayed, or I want to activate it early, because now the reflectant cell's on for this underwater section, but it didn't actually come on immediately. I always entered this the wrong way. I tried to crouch before entering, but I just kind of went in standing up. That's fine. This is better pace than before. It's kind of hard to get that pipe boost for some reason. It's like the difficulty of the pipe boost just depends on the pipe. Like the timing feels different every single time. Sometimes like one pipe, getting a pipe boost is like very consistent. You can do it every single time. Okay, I'm worried about that JLO sometimes. They can't just like camp right in front of the pipe. In which case you just lose. Didn't know this is where I died last run. I just fell down. So there's progress. I took risk. Yeah, I don't know what the best move there was. Probably not just running forward. Maybe if I just did a normal jump. But I thought I would have gotten more height from that. GG. Thanks for sticking around just to say GG when I die. Kind of forget. I've been doing a lot of no creature runs. That's the main way that I've been playing this category. And like I know that like in Chimney Canopy and Drainage System, there's a lot of creatures. I'm used to those. Just because I play the beginning of the run so much more. But then when it gets to like Underhang and beyond, kind of forgot about some of that. So in that room, I actually had a consistent strategy. Really? Really? That's cool. So in that room, I would always activate the Rarefaction Cell and just jump across. I did that always in the no creature runs. I forgot that there could be a DLL there. In which case, I think if you actually use the same strategy of just running through. Because if the DLL is there and you have to spend a long time trying to maneuver around it, it might not be worth the time loss. Because remember, at this point, like the most time save I can get is like 30 seconds. Well, probably not the most. So I could definitely get a time better than that if I, did everything perfectly. But based on that one practice run I did, I think 30 seconds is like a reasonable amount. So just one DLO getting in the way, slowing me down by 10 seconds. Now it's down to 20, Another creature there, like here and there, and, something, it's just like the normal time again. I'm not saving anything. So usually, if there's a creature in the way, I just take the option of just running through them. I mean, if the goal is to optimize this run as much as possible, that is the kind of thing that you need to do. But that's kind of thing is very uncommon in Rain World. If you watch other speedrunners, or other categories that are much longer, you'll notice that they slow down. If there's a creature in the way, if something slows them down, they'll just wait it out. And that's the obvious solution in most problems for Rain World. Just be patient and wait for it to pass, And you can do that in speedruns too, and most people do. But this run is at the point where I actually cannot wait at all. Got the turnaround, but I didn't fall into the water. Strong motion. I guess I knew what I was getting into. Yeah, let me stream attempts in this category where I know I can only save like 30 seconds at most. That'll be fun. I mean, I actually am enjoying this more than some other categories. Like Gourmand or Artificer. Because for the most part, it is just movements. The creatures aren't actually that bad. There's some in this area right here. There's some DLOs, you know, but mostly it is just movement. Although keeping up like perfect movement like this can be like a bit exhausting. No lizards yet. Spider. No lizards yet just means more lizards later. Okay, that's enough of that. And that, I suppose. Well, that's a fun creature. I did not do the inputs for a roll, but okay. It's a lot of blue lizards. I did not expect the screen to immediately switch back to the one I was already on. I just didn't have enough room to do an AI hop there. This actually might be a bit slow. Two of them are useless? What do you mean? There's the one when entering from industrial, right? There's the one like at the bottom of the region if you just go to the left or the right. Just go to the right. There's one all the way up top next to the entrance to Sky Islands, and then there's the one in the middle. Kind of at the top of that like tall tower room. But what do you mean like two of them are useless? The one with the scav. Yeah, that's the scav shelter where you wake up and you get killed by the scavengers outside. Unless you're friends. playing this very risky. But that went pretty good. Never mind. Yeah, some of those shelters do take quite a while to get to. Want to take the shortest path possible. A very purple scavenger. I'm not a fan of that. As long as we get that jump out of the water. And then that pounce across, that can be a bit difficult. Entering that pipe is kind of annoying with the terrain around it. It's not just flat ground. Might end the stream kind of soon. And see if I can get another good attempt going. But I'm kind of tired for some reason. I think I won't be able to perform as well. Doesn't help that the start is kind of boring. It's karma caching. And then it's just about getting past all the lizards in Chimney. Or the scavengers. That may or may not exist in drainage. Plus snails. I think it's kind of crazy that I managed to get this, the record in this category in the first place. I just spent a lot of attempts. Oh, I hate when they just get in the way. I guess it's worse when they throw a spear at you, of course. But just standing there can be annoying too. Or when they stand there right in this right spot to trigger the snail. Oh, now I have no food. And I'm going the wrong way. Okay, maybe that makes up for it. But I'll need to, I need to get more food. Maybe if I can get a centipede right outside of this room. That's probably the fastest way to get food. But they need to be like right there in front of the pipe. And there's no centipedes at all. Right here, maybe? No. Okay, maybe I'll eat the bubble fruit. That kind of sucked. I got stuck in that hole for some reason. And now the spiders. Okay. It's unfortunate that such small things make such a big difference to the speedrun. Okay, that makes up for some of it. Just kidding. I'm bad. I should have picked up that spear. That's why. I guess that's not why, because there was a spear there already. Okay, never mind. Can I get 2 good wall classes? If the rest of this area is perfect, I'll take it. Submerged as Gourmand? I don't think that's actually that bad. Gourmand has better lung capacity than Survivor, and there should still be bubble fruit there, or bubble weed. It'd probably be easier than as Monk. I don't even know where I am. Yeah, Gourmand has better lung capacity by 25%, I think. Time to sleep for a year. My capacity is standard, really. I'd always thought that Gourmand would had better. But either way, it's better than Monk. And I've done Submerged Superstructure as Monk, and it's not that bad. I'll say your lung capacity is kind of irrelevant, because you're mostly relying on the bubble weed. Unless swim boosting drains stamina as Gormon, but I don't think so. You just have to be careful not to try to swim if you're tired. Whoops. Okay, no pearl. Just kidding. I had time. When a white lizard thinks it's being sneaky, but you can hear the threat music. Same with pull points. Not with droplegs though. Or maybe? I guess you don't usually find droplegs in an area where there's threat music. So remember to go the right way this time. As in the up way. Saw that centipede enter that shelter. That was a lag spike that got in the way. Oh, there's no guarantee that I would have done it anyway. I saw a spear down there, so I took that path. I think they were about the same anyway, whether you come up the pole or if you do that. Okay, actually did that correctly. At the moment you don't line up the pounce correctly, kind of breaks the whole rhythm. Very good wall pounce time. Yep, this is the area. Welcome to the stream. And also welcome to anyone who may have joined, but who did not say anything in the chat. There we go. I think that's the main wall pounce. That one right there, that saves the most time. So if you're going to try to learn any wall pounce, that's a good one. That lizard did not even care. Maybe I thought I could have slide pounced across the bottom, but that's unfortunate. That was going really well too. Just one cyan. I guess in that scenario I could have just taken the normal path instead of trying to do that little shortcut. The beginning part is actually RNG. It's a lot easier if you start lower down in the water. if you're closer to the surface, you don't have the time to build up speed. Like this is a good start. So I can do that. That's not good. What I say my inputs are for the ploink. Jump into the water and try to align myself to be perfectly, or to not have any like horizontal speed. Tap down just before touching the surface of the water and then spamming jump. I think that's how I do it. It works maybe like half the time. I basically just go for one plank and then if it doesn't work, I climb up normally. It might be easier if you do a specific timing. So instead of just spamming jump, you try to learn like based on when you enter or when you touch the water, when to jump exactly. Maybe like you should jump before you touch the water or right after or at exactly the same time. And if you learned that timing, it would be more consistent. But I haven't really looked into it too much. Jump, press down, and then jump again. Yeah, I think that spamming jump might be better. Because I don't know when the exact timing is. I could like try to time the jump input without knowing that I'm doing it wrong. I'm ready to die as scavengers. 2 more kings exclusively for lower chimney canopy. Yeah, chimney needs more vultures. Oh, here they are. I don't know if this is true, but I think that scavengers should be less aggressive if you're holding a pearl. So maybe bringing a pearl into that room is like good, even if they don't take it from you. They're thinking like, oh, they have a pearl, so I shouldn't attack them immediately. Or they think they have a pearl, I should attack them to get that pearl from them. I think for the plank, you want to jump right after touching the surface of the, or right after entering the water. Because actually the mechanic that lets you do a plank, I use that when just doing normal swimming sections, especially in shoreline. Because the real mechanic behind the plank is just if you land in water with enough speed, your next swim boost is very fast. But you get an extra strong swim boost. And if you want to like swim normally, you can wait a little bit until you're like facing the right direction underwater. You can then do the swim boost. Or in the case of a plank, you do the swim boost while you're still facing upwards so that you immediately leave the water. Okay. guess that's like kind of neutral then. Time lost plus time save. The roof wins again. Yeah, alignment is another big problem. Either like how much you're moving horizontally. Oh, thank you, spider. Or like if you tilt slightly to the side after you press down. Wall bounce there. An alternative to that wall pounce is just to do a throw boost along the bottom platforms. You can make it across. Or a very well-timed slide pounce. Also works. That trick, man. Surely a pearl that looks very similar to another pearl will trick this massive supercomputer that can read the contents of the pearl and not just see the outward appearance. I know that moon is no longer the whole supercomputer thing, but just go along with it. Kind of. I've been doing some new strats for the first part of Underhang with the grapple worm that are significantly more dangerous. I mean, there's probably always small little improvements you can make with the grapple worm movement. Oh, the fastest I've ever done that room. Oh, too far. There we go. Oh wow, that was scary. Usually don't do that. I like doing a backflip here. Don't grab me, please. I think I would have been fine if I didn't touch the ground, but that slowed me down too much. You do, in fact, need to be moving fast for that to work. Or at least, like, not, like, moving in a straight line. You know, if you're playing Spearmaster, you can just bring the pearl to communication array and then just like keep playing. You know, it doesn't like stop you from continuing. I actually recommend that if you're still carrying the pearl around. Or I guess you could just leave the pearl up in Sky Islands and then do whatever you want. Just come back for it. Excuse me. Not a fan of that. Whatever. Time to sleep again. Making spear dual wielding obsolete. You're still carrying around the pearl? I guess, you know, it has been creatures that have ended most of these runs. Like, I have fallen down underhang like twice, which was pretty dumb. But that's entirely my own fault of not being safe enough in a dangerous area. But other times it's been because of DLLs. I don't even think I've made it past underhang. Yeah, I died to like DLLs twice there, and I fell another 2 times. Not really. You've been trapped. You try to escape while you still can. Okay, I have turn storage. I do. That was good. Actually, everything about this has been kind of perfect. But I'm still not that much faster than other runs. Making unique mechanics useless. Yeah. It's really only a problem at Spearmaster, I think. I think it's handled better as the other characters. If there's a snail on that pole, you should actually get rid of it. I have lost runs to snails there. Oh wow, that was close. Okay, I didn't even line up correctly. Let's just go. Do one more run. How about that? Oh, that's annoying. That's really annoying. Okay, this doesn't count. It kind of feels like it doesn't matter, but also it kind of feels like it does matter. Like, just a few seconds now. I mean, actually, you can't say anything about that. Chaos / butterfly effect. Because you would kind of think like, oh, if I save 4 seconds right now, then the run will be 4 seconds faster, but that's not true at all. If you have 2 parallel universes, and in one run you are 4 seconds faster in the beginning, then the 2 runs would end up being completely different, within a few seconds. So the outcome of those 2 runs would be entirely random, even though one of them has a 4-second head start. Of course, that's mostly only true for... It depends on the game. Does it? If you're going for a world record in an extremely optimized game and you lose 4 seconds, then you just have to restart because there's no chance that you'll get those 4 seconds back. Okay, I don't like doing that. $15.56 minutes? What? What is that referring to? Dandelion. Where is that unlock? I assume it's in Skylands. Is that the only place where dandelion peaches are? I guess that's not that bad. They really fit the vibe of Skylands. Kind of would have been cool if there was actually more food items. Because I assume it doesn't really take that much effort at all, right? You just need to create a new sprite for it, and that's it, you know? All food items can basically be counted as the same thing. Just an item that is somewhere, you pick it up and you eat it. Maybe there's some slight differences in how they are like attached to the ground. Like gooey ducks are like from subterranean to outer expanse, they're everywhere. I guess that's fine. Like 1 food item for like 1/2 regions. In some parts of subterranean at least. I guess there is decent diversity. I don't know what else. What other places are lacking unique food items? Sorry about that. Wall pants. It's still weird that you can do wall pants underwater, isn't it? Okay, I have no idea what that's referring to. But sure. Is it close to the entrance to Pipe Yard? Also, that snail is dead. I'm just throwing them into the abyss. Although if they popped, I would be thrown into the abyss, so I think it's fair. Is it in one of those rooms that's been added in Downpour? Is it that there's kind of like that extension to Sky Islands, you know? Not really. Okay. Get destroyed. Well, Pounce is... Okay, well, it's all over now. Alright, I think that's it. I mean, I could have continued, of course, but I mean, that felt like too much. CO4. That's the wrong character. Okay, I don't see how that's next to the shelter. I assume it's just like not accessible by Spearmaster. I think you have to play as another character. It's kind of weird because that's one of the places that Spearmaster goes to in their campaign. Anyway. That's gonna be the end of the stream. I mean, this is just kind of how these runs are. You know, you can't always expect to finish them. But I think I've also learned that the run that I've already done is really good. And if anyone wants to try to beat my time, then it's going to be difficult. But I also want to see someone do it. Troll percent, I forgot about that category. I will do that. Thanks for reminding me. So I have 2 ideas for Rain World. That's nice. What was I actually just saying? Anyway. Oh yeah, someone else wants to beat this record. I want to see that. And anyone really. Sometimes I look at the Rain World Discord. There's a few Discords, but in like the ones for speedrunning specifically, I feel like Rivulet and Saint are not really looked into that much, and actually most of the Downpour characters. I feel like I would like to see more people look into this at least. Because all this stuff with the just the movement abilities of Rivulet and Saint, with like the wall pounces, And maybe it is creatures. Maybe it is like the rot. Like, oh, I don't want to deal with creature RNG, or I don't want to go into the rot at all. Because that's how I felt. I didn't want to run Rivulet story percent at first because I didn't want to go through the rot. And that was it. So maybe that's how most people feel. But I think that just learning the movement alone makes it worth trying. Flying. Oh, yeah, if you're Spearmaster, you can just fly around. Maybe I want more people to do no creature runs. If you're wondering, this mod right here, this is what I use, which is quite funny, game journalists, of course. But this is the mod that removes most creatures. Any creature that comes from a den is removed. Some that are part of the environments, like stowaways or DLLs in the rot, aren't affected, as well as some random creatures like jetfish for some reason. That one aquapede in the entrance to submerged superstructure. The entirety of Silent Construct isn't affected by this. There might be another mod that works better. But I kind of want to see more people do runs with this. Just to focus on the movement. Because maybe sometimes Grand World is kind of a bit grindy. Like, oh, I just need to do attempts until I get a good run. But with that, you can really just focus on the movement. And also another thing. I've had this idea for making a segmented run for Rivulets. Which basically means I record each room separately. So I do a room and try to do that one room as fast as possible. And I just retry and do like many attempts until I get one that feels perfect. And then I do that for every room in the run, edit it all together, and that gives you an idea of what the perfect run would look like without doing a task, because there's not really any testing tools for the game at the moment. And I have started working on it, but I've not made much progress. I've done up to Chimney Canopy. It takes a long time to do attempts just over and over again. Maybe I'll finish that. It'd be cool to see what this character can do in like a perfect scenario. Because when I did a practice run, it felt as close as possible. Or as close to perfect as possible. And it was only 30 seconds faster than world record. So maybe there really isn't that much time to save. Anyway, I've been talking for too long. Thanks everyone for watching. See ya.